I'd like to welcome you to this guided practice session presented by the Contemplative Studies Centre at the University of Melbourne. I'm Dr. Colin Joyce. I'm an Insight Fellow at the Centre. I'd like to start with the acknowledgement of country. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the unceded land on which we work, learn and live, the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung and Bunurong peoples. I'd like to pay my respect to their elders, past, present and future, and to any Indigenous people present today. I also want to remind all participants that your well-being is our highest concern, and that by joining the session today, you do so in compliance with the CSC terms and conditions, as you indicated when registering online. Please see the chat for more information, and if you're unwilling or unable to comply with the terms, we respectfully ask that you please leave the session. So they'll be up soon. So today we're delighted to welcome Angela McGee to facilitate this guided insight meditation series. Angela has been a teacher now for over 30 years in various traditions of contemplative practice, and she is also a psychotherapist with a private practice in Melbourne. She teaches regularly with Melbourne Insight Meditation at weekly meetings and week-long silent meditation retreats in Australia and overseas. Angela is keen to explore how the Buddhist Dharma teachings can open our hearts, guide our daily experiences, and open our connection to all of life. This introductory session aims to cover the key concepts in the Insight tradition. This session will be recorded, but subsequent sessions won't be. So if you have any questions, comments, or reflections, please place them in the Q&A at any point during the session, and we'll address as many as possible towards the end. So welcome, Angela. Great to see you.
Thank you, Cullen. Thank you so much for your introduction, and to the CSC for their invitation to have me guide this series of 4 sessions. Welcome everybody you've joined today, and I want to give you first, before we dive into practice, which is really the most important part of our meeting, is the actual practice, just a little overview of the tradition I come from, the Buddhist tradition I practice in myself and teach in, and also a little overview of the 4 sessions that have a kind of structure to them, a flow to them. Of course, if you can only make some of them, that's fine, but you'll notice week by week that we build on the practice guided by the Buddhist texts, the Sattipattana sutta. I'll go into that in a moment, but there'll be a sort of logical sequence to the 4 practices. So, as I said before, my tradition that I teach and practice in is called Insight Meditation. In the West, it's called Insight Meditation. It's sometimes otherwise known as Vipassana practice. The same, really, it's a translation of the word Vipassana, and it refers both to Buddhist meditation practices and really a largely Western form of Buddhism that's free from ritual. It's also a practice of study of the ancient text from the Pali, and taking up the practices in an ethical way to live a life more openly and more freely. And the practice's intention really is to settle the mind firstly, but not only, but to settle the mind and develop a sense of clarity so that we can look clearly and carefully at our own moment-to-moment experience. So although it does settle the mind and settle the whole being, the point then is from that settled place that we can then look at what the mind is doing and see our moment-to-moment experience. And this cultivation of what we call mindfulness, or in the Pali, the word is sati, S-A-T-I, cultivating awareness or mindfulness or sati, then allows us to examine the habits of the mind. The mind has very strong habits that are usually out of awareness. So the practice allows us to see those habits of mind, and those habits of mind particularly that create confusion in our lives, in our relationships, and contraction. That's what a lot of people come into the practice having a lived experience of some, and that's my experience as well, of coming in and knowing and sensing that there's a form of contraction, or what we call pervasive dissatisfaction is the translation of the word from the Pali, the Buddhist use of the word dukkha, some of you might be familiar with, which simply means pervasive dissatisfaction. So this mindfulness and inquiry into the mind can then, I've found and have found with fellow sitters, allows the heart to open quite naturally and helps us remember our true connection to life and live a more full life. So over the next 4 weeks, this series, you'll be encouraged to foster a warm and welcome environment in which to see the mind itself. And so this is really important, to see the arising and passing events of the mind. The mind is always moving, and that's not a problem. We're not trying to still the mind. We're trying to steady the mind, and from a vantage point we call awareness, to see what is arising and passing in a continuous stream, moment by moment. And there's always something arising in the mind, and we don't want to still the mind. We want to be able to see from a still place all the events that are naturally happening in the mind, the sensations, the sounds, the thoughts, the feelings, and the movements of the mind. So it's a vantage point from which to see the passing events of the mind. So we're going to follow across the 4 weeks the Buddha's teachings of the Sattipattana Sutta, which is translated as the Great Teaching on Mindfulness. And this is the Buddha's discourse on the 4 ways to establish awareness or mindfulness, to understand the body-mind process and to see the habits of mind, and the different ways to free the mind from the causes of dissatisfaction, or sometimes that's translated as the word suffering. So the 4 foundations of mindfulness are awareness of all your lived experience. So this Buddha's teaching suggested that all of our experience can be sort of divided up into these 4 areas. Of course, these 4 domains of experience are often happening all at the same time, but for clarity's sake, they're divided into 4 bundles or 4 stations or 4 foundations. So they're called the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So the first foundation of mindfulness, as taught in the Buddhist text, is mindfulness of body and form. The second foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of feeling tone, or in the Pali the word is Vedana, which is really the preferencing that goes on in the mind, the wanting for this and not wanting for that. So bringing mindfulness to that in the mind. The third foundation of mindfulness, or a bundle of experience that's worth noting, the Buddha taught, is mindfulness of thoughts and mind states. And the Pali word for that domain of mindfulness is citta. So we'll be taking up an investigation of thoughts and mind states in the 3rd week. And the last domain of mindfulness investigation is awareness of the what's called the 3 marks of existence. So they are impermanence, the sort of natural and inevitable movement and change in life, and the dissatisfaction that we all experience, the contraction that the body-mind experiences when the mind is not open and allowing experience. And the last one is the investigation of self and not self. That's a big domain of study. I won't open that up today. So over the 4 weeks, we'll this week have a look at body, investigation of body and form. Next week we'll bring mindfulness a little more keenly to the feeling tone. The 3rd week the practice will be guided to investigate thoughts and mind states. And the last week we'll investigate those 3 marks of existence so that we can move more freely in our daily life. The marks of impermanence, dissatisfaction, and not self. So as a sort of general frame before we launch into the practice for the next 20-25 minutes, I'll be guiding the practice, it's really vitally important to remember that we're not practicing perfection here. we need to practice with patience. We need to be patient with our body-mind, this whole phenomenon we call form and mind. And it does take time to settle. It takes time for the body to settle, for the mind to settle in any meditation sit. If you're newer to practice, that can be a little disorienting, that there's a lot of movement in the mind. And it's really important the attitude of practice is one of friendliness, of curiosity, of compassion, of understanding. There will be wandering mind today. My mind, your mind will wander. There will be restless mind. There will be restless body. My mind, your mind, that will happen. It's almost inevitable, something to anticipate and not make bad or wrong. There might be sleepy mind for you, agitated mind. You'll still benefit if your mind wanders, if your mind is agitated or distracted or sleepy. There'll still be a benefit to practice. It doesn't really matter what's on your mind. The orientation is that it's more important to know what's on your mind rather than get distressed about the mind doing its thing. It does its thing. So attitude of practice is really important today and over the 4 weeks. So let there be no self-harshness. We live in a culture of so much harshness, and we don't want to take that harshness into our practice. We don't want to take in expectations, any shoulding. It should go like this. My mind should be doing that. So just setting an intention for yourself here at the beginning, instead of kindness, of patience, of compassion for yourself each time you practice any kind of meditation. So as I said, this week we're going to begin with the first foundation, which is mindfulness of form, which means bringing this patient, allowing moment-to-moment awareness, primarily of your body posture, of the sensations of breathing, and sensations more generally that arise in your body as you sit today. So we're going to shine the light of awareness on whatever's happening in this realm of form, of body posture, breathing, and body sensations, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. And sometimes there are not so pleasant body sensations, and we're cultivating and allowing knowing and relationship with pleasant and unpleasant. So I think that's enough overview. I think time to practice, to actually do the practice together. So I encourage you now to set yourself up in your preferred position. We'll be sitting for, it'll be about 20 minutes today because I've given a slightly longer introduction. I'll be guiding the practice. Now, some of you may be used to more periods of unguided practice. So if I'm talking and you're not finding it relevant or useful, just let the guidance wash over you. But I will be giving periods of guidance and then short periods of silence in which to just apply the practice, and then I'll come back in with guidance. So take as much guidance as is useful to you and leave the rest. It's useful to sit up if you can. I'm sitting in a chair with cushions behind me, so you might want to just take a moment here to make sure you're well supported. It is really helpful to have the spine quite upright, maybe even a little more upright than you're used to sitting. It adds a certain alertness to the body, to the mind. If you prefer to sit, some people are very used to sitting on the ground, on their meditation cushion without any support. That's fine as well. And for some people, lying down is the best option. The Buddha said there's 4 positions for seated practice. They are sitting, lying down, walking, and standing practice. So any of those is possible. If you lie down, often it signals to the brain, time to sleep, time to get dull, to drift. I can't do lying meditation. I find my mind just gets sort of wafty. But if you need to lie down, please do. It can be helpful to bring the fingertips together, elbows on the floor, just so there's enough alertness so you don't fall asleep. So take this moment to settle in. You can have your feet on the floor, legs crossed, whatever is good for you. Decide where you want to put your hands, whether you want to turn your palms down, rest them on your legs or on your lap, or turn the palms up if that helps the neck and shoulders. Okay, so traditionally in insight practice, we close the eyes. That might not be useful to you. So if closing the eyes is not for you today, just casting your gaze softly down, and we'll begin the practice together. So letting yourself settle here at the beginning of practice, closing the eyes if that's comfortable for you, or gazing softly down, gently lengthening the spine so the body's upright and open, maybe a little roll of the shoulders back and down. You might like a couple of deeper breaths just to settle in, a couple of longer out breaths, just to signal to the body, heart, mind that something new is happening here. Let yourself settle. And then relaxing the breath, letting the breath do its own thing, allowing the body to breathe naturally without any effort, any direction, and no amplification of the breath. We just let the breath breathe itself. As we take up this practice, we're going to use the breath today as an anchor, so allowing the breath to flow naturally. And just let yourself sink into the support under you. Feel the ground under your buttocks. Notice the sense of weight through the sitting bones, the pelvis. And becoming more aware of the legs and the feet, grounding you, supporting you. So let awareness wander inside the body now. Feeling pelvis, feeling inside your legs and feet. Feeling the base of your body steady, connected, weighted. Just noticing body sensations. And then let awareness wander up through the trunk, from the hips, right up through your spine. Walk your awareness up the ladder of your spine, allowing the vertebrae to gently open. If you need support, you can lean back into something behind you, keeping the chest open. Feeling inside the torso, letting the belly soften, the chest open, feeling inside this body, wandering the awareness inside the body, feeling the weight of the shoulders and arms hanging and settled, feeling inside both arms and feeling inside both hands, the still heaviness of your hands, just feeling. And feeling the neck and the head lifting out of the spine, feeling inside the head, and feeling the face now, this face that's usually moving and communicating. Just let the expression on the face soften a little now. The eyes soften, the cheeks and jaw soften. Now just getting a relaxed overview of any sensations happening in the body right now. Just noticing any and all sensations without making anything bad or wrong. Just feeling the constantly changing sensations of body. Pulsing, tingling, pressure, contact. warmth, coolness. And now bringing that awareness to where in this body there's movements that tell you breathing is happening. So somewhere in the body there are movements that tell you the breath's coming in, the breath's going out. And beginning to aim and sustain the awareness to the place where those sensations are most obvious to you. It might be the belly expanding and softening. It might be awareness of the chest rising and falling. Or perhaps for you the movements are more distinct around the nostrils as the breath touches the nostrils going in and touches the nostrils coming out. So tuning into your breathing sensations and feeling, sensing, appreciating the breath just as it is, just as you feel the sensations, just as you find them right now, breath by breath. You're not controlling or manipulating, just being breathed. Just relax into the simplicity of being breathed. Noticing the breath has its very own rhythm. Relaxed awareness of breath coming in, breath going out. Feeling breathing sensations. Expanding, softening. Breath coming in, breath going out. And every time you notice your mind has wandered, bring it to the breathing sensations, back to the flow, to the immediacy of sensations, of breathing in and breathing out. Nothing else to do. Ease your attention into your body, into that one place where you feel the breathing sensations, and let the breath be an anchor for you. Letting go of any expectations of what should be happening. Just feeling, just sensing. Relaxed awareness, friendly awareness with breathing sensations. When your mind slides off those sensations, notice that with friendliness. Take a pause and maybe step out of that story in the mind and remember breathing. Feel the next in-breath. Feel the next out-breath. Keep letting the breath invite you into something more simple, more direct, content with and appreciating one breath at a time. You'll notice many experiences as you practice. You'll notice thoughts, mind states, moods in the mind, sounds and images. Don't struggle with any of it. Just make space for them. Grasping at none of it, pushing none of it away. Just allow them to be there in the background. And invite the breath to be in the foreground of awareness. Let the breath invite you back into present moment, relaxed awareness. A relaxed intimacy with this breath and this breath. You don't have to think about the breathing. You're feeling the breath in the body as sensations. Anywhere there's a struggle, just relax with things as they are. Notice what's happening in the mind. Take a step back. And then remember the breathing sensations. If you notice the mind is distracted, you're caught in stories or even judgments of the practice, it's just something to notice. It's not wrong, it's just what minds do. Just allowing whatever's there to be there, knowing what's on the mind. Gently bowing to whatever's arising as thoughts or images, memories, sounds, even sensations somewhere else in the body, restlessness, strain. Just noticing with that patient friendliness. And then find the breathing sensations. Relax into being breathed. This is where freedom lies. Our capacity to be with what's right here in a direct, open and fresh way. This in-breath, this out-breath. Thoughts come and go, sounds come and go, body sensations come and go. The breathing comes and goes. The breathing's impermanent, changing the way of all things. Just riding that impermanent wave of an incoming breath, an outgoing breath. Making the breathing your whole universe. Can you track the whole of one breath without interpreting it or interfering with it, feeling the length of the entire in-breath, feeling the length of the entire out-breath. Welcoming each breath as you might welcome a dear friend. Feeling it, allowing it, welcoming each breath. Simple, direct, honest relationship, moment by moment, breath by breath. You're not trying to make anything happen here. Awareness simply knows whatever's moving through, breathing, sensations. Awareness knows when a thought is arising, an image in the mind, a memory. It knows that, and then remembers the anchor of breathing, feeling the body being breathed. Relaxing a little more into being breathed. Relaxing a little more, feeling the sensations of this incoming breath, this outgoing breath. Mind is not trying too hard, nor drifting. Relaxed, wakeful awareness of one breath at a time. And now just for a moment, moving the awareness from that one place in your body and feeling the whole of the body, no longer as parts, but let awareness fill the whole body, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head, whole body filled with awareness. And just letting awareness notice the whole field we call body and all the sensations dancing in the body, moving and changing. This whole field of form, body just as it is, sensations coming and going. Awareness just knows. It has no opinion, no interpretation. It just knows clearly what is arising. So just, if the eyes are closed, just remaining with eyes closed a moment longer. This transition from practice to daily life is an important portal to continue the practice with that same non-judging open awareness. So when you first open your eyes or gaze up, just notice what you see, the shapes, the colours, the form, without interpretation, without an opinion, just that simple, direct knowing of form outside the body. Good. Okay. So when your eyes are open or you're gazing up again, although we've finished the practice, we can continue in a different form. So I'm going to pass over to Cullen to take any questions. Thanks, Cullen.
Start us off. I might offer a reflection, and part of the practice you were really gentle with describing the move if a distraction happens from the breath, and you talked like allowing that space for that kind of to arise, and I just noticed that it helped me to see how sometimes in these practices I have a tendency to try to go back to the place attention really maybe too quickly. And can you talk a little bit um, about the tone of that response to distraction and how you feel? Because I felt it worked really well for me.
Okay, good. I'm glad it was helpful. It's a practice I use myself because I think there can be, as you say, maybe too quick a movement from if the mind has gone somewhere else that it wants something it wants to do, wants to grasp or push away, wants to play with. We can get into a habit, I think, of just going back to the primary object, whatever you've chosen, if it's the breath. What I like to do is pause and notice what the mind is doing and cultivate an attitude of patience, of friendliness, and of knowing what's on the mind. Because it's important in the insight tradition, we talk about knowing what's on the mind and getting familiar with the way the mind works. So I think I said something or sort of intended to say something like, when the mind wanders, and it will, pause and know what's here. So some people like to use a noting technique where they'll say internally thinking, or remembering, planning, or it might be that you notice a mood in the mind like sadness or distraction or even irritation, impatience. What we're doing is cultivating an allowing attitude. Okay, this is what's happening now, and to know that is very valuable, to know what the mind does and not make what's on the mind bad or wrong, because if we flee from whatever the mind wants to do, we're sort of inherently suggesting that that's wrong, and it's not wrong. It's a function of mind, of being human. And so I like to pause and make a bit of space around the phenomena that's there, whether it's a thought or an urge to move my shoulder or a niggling feeling in the back, and just know it and name it. And like I think I said, what I do in my mind is sort of bow to it. Oh, you're there. Okay. That's okay. It's fundamentally okay, whatever is going on. And I'm now choosing to remember the breath. So it's a choice. It's a movement towards the breath rather than a reaction away from, let's say, a distracting thought. Because we don't want to make whatever moves in the mind a problem. We simply want to know what's on the mind. And that is very useful then for daily living, because we've got to deal with so much incoming information. Does that answer the question for you, Cullen? Yeah.
That's great. It's very yeah, it was really helpful for the instruction was very helpful for helping me to notice how our responses were connected with that. If was any does anyone else in the audience have a question or something? You can just put it into the chat there for Angela, and I'll pass it on. Um, you did get a good response there before. So maybe just to ask you to talk a little bit about that process of recognizing what's happening in the mind as being important for kind of establishing kind of for the practice within daily life and everyday life, and could you talk a little bit more about what's happening there in terms of bringing that acknowledgement and bringing that awareness into everyday things?
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit more on this in the last session, but I think it's helpful to talk about it at any point. When we are practicing meditation, we're not practicing to become a good meditator. Ideally, we're taking up a practice of moment to moment awareness of all phenomena so that when we open our eyes and get off our chair or our cushion or enter into the next experience, whether it's talking to someone or sitting on your computer or driving around, just our day to day relationship with life, we are training the mind to notice what's in our mind while we're in relationship with experience, but also cultivating a capacity to allow what's here to be here, to notice what's here clearly, and to notice if the mind is pushing experience away or pulling experience in. So it's a familiarity with what the mind is doing and not follow the habit of mind, which is usually according to all the causes and conditions, all the experiences you've had, is the mind will tend to do what it's always done. So we're cultivating a moment where we get to choose what we're going to do next. So if maybe the mind feels irritated, noticing the mind is irritated and not making that a problem. And when I know my mind is irritated, then I can choose what I'm going to do next with this irritated mind, if the mind is irritated. Knowing the mind is sad, knowing the mind is distracted, helps me then when I have to talk to someone with whom there might be some difficulty or relate to just moving through a busy world. I need to know what is on my mind, the way my mind is working, because it's going to give me information on how to react or how to respond to life. So I've noticed over a long period of contemplative practice that I'm getting more friendly with my mind, understanding the way my mind works, and it gives me a clearer vantage point in which to choose then how to speak, act, and behave. And really that is the heart of meditation practice, is that you have a choice then what your response to life is going to be rather than just following habitual patterns. So yeah, it is allowing what's there to be there. It's vital to the practice. Knowing and allowing what's there. So then I have a choice on how I want to respond to any given moment, whatever is in front of me. Yes, I'll talk some more about it in the last session, but that's pretty much why it's so useful to let that allowing I don't call it accepting. A lot of people in the traditions call it accepting. I don't really, doesn't really work for me, that word. I like the word allowing. It feels spacious and open and sort of human. This is what human minds do.
Thank you, Angela. We've got two more questions, so but we've kind of come to time, so I apologise for hogging it a bit. But Jamie and Angela, we'll come back to your questions for next week, and they'll be really pertinent to the next sessions. So I'd just like to thank Angela and thank all of our audience for joining us today. I'd just like to say that the Contemplative Study Centre is pleased to host these sessions for the community, and your feedback does mean a lot to us. So we do ask if you could take our survey if you have time. It's really helpful for us to know how things are going and what we can do better. We hope to see you again next week. So
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Bye.